Hi, guys, and welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show. We help Muslims and non Muslims to handle Islam in the 21st century. My name is Mustafa, and this is my co host in the nick of time. If you wish to talk about Islam, the ideology, you have come to the right place. We cover current Islamic news, Islamic scripture, some crazy comments, and a weekly topic about Islam to examine, critique, and analyze. If this is not enough Islam for you, please drop by our Discord to discuss any further questions about Islam. We condemn any form of discrimination, violence, misogyny, slavery. However, we do embrace free speech and criticism if it's factual and correct. Thank you for stopping by and enjoy the Gin and Tonic Show.
Hi guys, how are you doing today?
Doing great. How about you?
I'm okay. My laptop's being a bit slow on my end, so I can't see the screen moving. I think if you shut off your video, it might, speed up. That
Let
could
me
be the case.
stop. So will get angry at me if I use his avatar. Let me use my regular.
Yeah. No, you can use your regular. There we go. There we go. Okay. So yeah, we have quite an interesting episode for today, and yeah, it's like Islam and homosexuality, are they even compatible? Or
Yeah.
it's gonna say Islam versus homosexuality. What does the title say? I can't see the title for some reason.
So I kind of my dyslexia kind of hit me hard, and I was like, "Is Islam and homosexuality?" So yeah, I apologize for that, but I think I changed it now.
Yeah. No worries, man. No worries. Yeah, just my laptop's being a bit slow on my end, so I don't blame your dyslexia. I mainly blame my laptop being slow. You can hear me perfectly fine, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So perfect. So today's episode, we're going to be discussing as in honor of Pride Month. That is, in honor of Pride Month, will be focusing on Islam versus homosexuality, or Islam and homosexuality, and the LGBTQ community. Are they even? Is it even compatible? That is, and there have been numerous apologetics. There have been numerous dodges to this topic. There have been numerous attempts to avoid this topic. Also, there is a growing homophobia. There are gay Muslims, there are lesbian Muslims, there's a growing number of LGBTQ plus Muslims. So this topic does need addressing. Um, and I think this
Yeah.
does not get enough attention as it should. And since Pride Month started, I also saw some like very disturbing images from and comments from Muslims as well. Muslims, believers of other Abrahamic faiths like Christians and Jewish believers. That some very disturbing, like there was someone who actually said the LGBT stands for let's get let's go behead them, LGBT. And I'll share that in the I can't I don't know, my laptop's a bit slow, but Leah, I can't. I wish I had.
Yeah,
In the middle
I
of the
have
video.
some crazy comments as well.
Yeah.
So how about this? I'll start the crazy comments jingle if you can find that, and then I'll show my comments, which you can react to.
Actually,
And then
hang on. Let me see if where is my phone. Actually, let me just 1 second. I think I might have to. 1 second. I think it's being a bit slow on my end. I'll just try 1 second. I'll just leave studio and then try to come back. Okay, 1 second.
right.
Come
So
on.
while Moose is doing that, I'll play this nostalgic video here. All right. So let me just share my screen as Moose leaves and comes back. We can get some reactions to this. So basically, this is going to be a video that we react to if we got the time after my articles and Moose's presentation. It's our favorite friend, uh, Yazir Kadi. And there's some comments on here that I think are really explanatory of the situation. So the first one I'll read out. By Kingdom Galaxy. Short answer: yes and no. Long answer: most Islamic countries are illegal for having gay sex, but culture isn't the same as religion. We are supposed to respect everyone. It's I can't do this because of my religion, not you can't do this because of my religion. To be honest, even if you're straight, it doesn't really matter because zina, sex before marriage, is haram. In fact, it's not like you can't be friends with someone with your same sex or gender. I find it hypocrite that polygamy marriage is not allowed in West countries, but in Islamic countries it's allowed. Well, there are a few things with this that I have a love hate relationship with. Like this, yeah, exactly. Like we're supposed to say, I can't do this because, like, same thing with alcohol, right? They don't trash people who drink alcohol or like have wine with their dinner or something. They essentially say, I can't drink it, but they don't say you can't drink it because of my religion. And same thing here. But it's this saying of I find it hypocrite that polygamy is not allowed, but in Islamic countries it's allowed in a sense where no one's stopping you from having orgies, right? Here. And then you got this comment. What about homophobic laws in other countries? Is it their right to discriminate against LGBTQ people? If you support that, that does make you homophobic, or at least you're a hypocrite? Support anti-LGBT laws in other countries. The country you reside in makes you homophobic. Saying that being gay is wrong and bad is still homophobia. Homophobia is not about violence or verbal abuse. It is also prejudice and dislike towards gay people. Thinking that gay people are a threat to your religious liberty is homophobia. Not being homophobic only because the country you reside in does not like homophobia, has anti homophobia laws, does not make you a good person. I am sure you would not like Islamophobia or Islamophobic laws in your country. So yeah, those two really did stick out to me. Um, and where the hell did Moose go? Oh, I thought he was like fixing something, but yeah, it's not like they openly like yeah, Pride Month from Toronto, like fucking Church Street is blocked. Quite ironic that they practice pride parades on Church Street. So like the only inconvenience I have with that is like they block off the street. But in Canada, at least, what you do in your bedroom, the government doesn't really just says it's none of our business. Whereas that's which is essentially what you should follow. If you don't like that's like if I say I'm with so and so partner, you don't dwell on what do you do in the bedroom, right? When we it's so what the hell do you think about LGBTQ people? Like I'm in a partnership with this so and so person. What they do together is none of your concern. So here's Moose. He's back.
Hi guys. So yeah, I shared some things with what do you call it? What do you, basically I shared some stuff. So these are some crazy comments that I'm gonna share.
Oh
So
yeah, you just missed the comments that I shared.
oh yeah, no, I apologize, but I'll actually I'll just screen share on my end. There's screen. Yeah, no, I apologize for like slipping out because there's some weird issues with my laptop. Let's see the window. So let's open WhatsApp. Can you see this?
Yes, my notifications got butt fucked by your
Yeah,
messages.
yeah. So this is what recently saw on Instagram. That is, so this is LGBT. Let's go behead them. Like this is someone, a Muslim shared this. So this was very disturbing that I found. So there is this post this person shared. I actually, what are LGBT? How we embrace their rights, how we can give their rights, and then they state a hadith about killing them. That is, whatever you find the action, kill the one who does it and the one who it is done. And as much as I like, this is they kind of just admit it practically. So this is very like insane. The kind of people. And there are people with these comments like Lamau, true, we should give them their rights ASAP with a heart in their eyes. And I mean, there's this comment by Musaddiq Khan, Royal Devil. I mean, it's fair enough. It's the best they can get. And then this is the kind of like, mentality we're dealing with. And then the same person is like, guys, make a dua for me for my problems. I go away. I'm like, yeah, like your imaginary god, based on that imaginary god, you kind of like, you try to discriminate human beings, but then, what do you call it? You want a dua practically. So these are the crazy comments that I have for now. And now let's start. I think you wanted to share some um, article status. So let's look at the articles about like homophobia within the Muslim community status.
For sure. I'm just pulling them up right now.
All right.
All right. Come on, you piece of shit laptop. Yeah, and just as a small thing, I'm having a thunderstorm outside. So
Oh wow.
so it's I don't know if I'll lose my power or not. Hail and thunderstorm.
In
Which you
case
might
if
get
you
it.
Yeah, in case if you lose power, don't worry. I have some stuff to like continue
Yeah.
with. Like you sent me the links and everything.
Yeah, I sent you all the articles and
Yeah,
everything,
yeah,
but yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And in case if I can't open the articles, even though in the worst case scenario, I still have the presentation regarding homosexuality, Islam, and its teaching status.
Yeah.
So
So
let's.
this one is from the Cross Currents Journal,
Mhm.
and it's Islam and Homosexuality by
Okay.
Summer Habib.
Let me just expand the page a bit. Okay, so it's like by Samar Habib and introduces. So we can kind of skim through this, because we have a bunch of
Yeah.
articles. First volume, experiences of gay Muslims, LGBTQ persons with Islamic nations. So we can kind of, see, okay, like, do they touch upon, what else, what do they touch upon that is?
Yeah. So basically, like, what gets me here is that he's pretty, like, I'd have to say, he just talks about, like, the topic in the book itself, right? He
Right,
doesn't
right.
go into too much depth about it, but the fact that he's able to show something so unbiased is what really gets me here, right?
Uh,
Because I'll highlight some stuff that I
okay.
really liked. So the book, uh, Islam and Homosexuality. So right
20.
here,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so 20 experts exploring the issue of and provide an expansive look on the treatment of same-sex interactions in Muslim cultures today.
Hmm.
Now, what I like that he's going to the experts on it rather than giving his own opinion. But
Right.
what? But he never talks about the religion itself. He's saying
Hmm.
culture, right? I thought the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
cultural side and the religious side were different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
especially like,
yeah,
it's I'm guessing like he hasn't exactly addressed the Sharia. You haven't seen the Sharia or the jurisprudence. He's not addressed that, or this person has not addressed that. Muslim persons within Islam and in the
Yeah.
we are
So
all
this was a yeah. So this experience here,
hmm
uh, I is one thing that I really like about the book. And then, and he also does include the Quran and Hadith in it,
okay.
right?
So at least including or excluding LGBTQ persons. So I love how he tries to neutralize it, but in reality, it's like it's not exactly inclusive. I love how he tries to neutralize the Quran and Hadith, but it's not exactly like
Yeah.
one way or the other. It's pretty straightforward over there.
Yeah, so the book itself, I have a link for the ebook, so I'll put
Hmm.
that into the description of this video. But overall, like from the abstract of this, which I have right now, it's a very unbiased take, but there
Yeah,
are some issues with it, which I think we can
yeah.
do a
I would
separate
say,
review on.
yeah, yeah. I would say, at least what I feel it could be just issues of omission
Yeah,
rather than like straight up lying. But we'll see. We'll read the book. We'll check out the book and see
yeah,
what he says, because this is okay. Now this is an interesting article. Levin University Press, stuck between Islamophobia and homophobia, applying intersect. Oh yes, finally the stuck between Islam. I love how it's like stuck between. Like you can't criticize Islam. It's just straight up Islamophobia. And if you're either homophobic or you're Islamophobic, there's no two. Like it's this weird. Now I'm finally they're addressing this issue. Like we need to replace the term Islamophobia with anti-Muslim bigotry and separate it. Like Islamophobia has just become like a catch-all for critics of Islam, right? Like it's just basically both bigots and critics are put in the same category. So I hate that term. But yeah, it's like
yeah.
the Dutch gay identity politics have undergone profound process of normalization
Organization.
compared to other Western societies. So emancipation.
Yeah. So what gets me is,
Mhm.
let's say, so the second statement about like the recent decades, how he's honest about the assault and the threatening that people in this community get because of just the way they are, even
Yeah,
though the society itself has normalized it, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
So I don't know if it was,
homosexuality
yeah,
is
yeah,
accepted in Dutch society, but like this, I'm guessing this is looking into like the conflict between the Muslim citizens as well as the LGBTQ plus citizens. So,
yeah. So I actually have a quick question. So
mhm.
for new homonormativity, I didn't quite get the word that they used here in terms of the definition. So I was wondering, like, as someone who I don't know if you said this thing or not, but
I
like
have never
someone who's
used this
knowledge.
term. Even being part of being a open queer person myself, I've never used the term. But then again, I'm not a academic in that field, so um,
Yeah,
and outside the gay community, as the emergence of politics does not contest a dominant heteronormative assumptions and homonormative. Okay, heteronormative and homonormative assumptions. Okay, so there's the crap. What was the name? What was the term normative meaning? Crap, I my mind's blanking right now. I know there was this meaning to it, so but yeah, relate to developments with the increasing acceptance towards LGBTQ. Go down. Okay, so margin have resulted marginalized positioning of Muslims who have become framed as opposed to values and properties to in neoliberal societies. Despite being individual citizens and neoliberal Muslims allege homophobic attitudes, identify them as failing the litmus test for social integration, folded into the normalization of gay identities. Yeah, yeah, this conflict was going to happen. The notion of new hormone will be elaborated and discussed. So it's a new note. It's a notion. So
yeah. But what would you say a neoliberal society is in terms of the political side? And would you say that the statement? essentially would be true, right?
I
Because
wouldn't say it's a true statement because neoliberalism has different definitions, right?
yeah,
And I think it also has some controversial definitions. I may be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, but yeah, it's. I wouldn't say it's the Dutch society is. I would say liberal. I wouldn't say neoliberal. Um,
because like because I've been to the Scandinavian countries, right?
I've been to
And they're just
Amsterdam as well. I've actually been to Amsterdam.
yeah,
So I've been to the Netherlands. Mind you, I was very young. I was only 9 years old. And my fondest memory is in the arcades of Amsterdam. Because as a
yeah,
9 year old child, you're just more obsessed with video games and all that stuff. So
yeah. I we actually had a client in Norway at work,
hmm
and I in Oslo, and I had to go there to do an implementation in the 3 months as a contract.
yeah, yeah,
And I was 20 at the time, just brand new, just came out of a conservative family and all. And this was like right when I was trying to find my identity.
yeah.
And the openness really did shock me there, because I would say Canada is a liberal society, but they're more open than us. So in one side, I believe I'll tell the story about like in the sauna.
hmm
One of the best or smartest discussions I had was with some lady in a sauna, where normally in Canada it's commingling of the genders. A lady and a guy will use the same sauna and it'll be happy. But both of them, they think of like public decency laws where you'll at least wear underwear in the
Yeah,
sauna. No one goes into a sauna in Canada butt naked. But
yeah,
there, not only did she come in butt naked, she felt laid flat. It's like a U, and then I was on the back side, and then she laid on the thing on the back end where I was sitting, and opened her legs in a way where I could see straight into her. And if I had to have a conversation with her, I'd probably have to speak right through her thing. And like she didn't give a shit. She just went on and did. She's like, and like and then more people came in butt naked, and I'm like, I'm the odd man out for covering myself with a towel.
yeah, yeah. I
So
think
like, so
I
it's
think
like, so the moral of the story is like, I'm not making fun of it, but like just their general openness in that side of the world. They're
right.
not completely like, I'll kill you where you stand if you misgender someone, but like they're definitely a far more liberal society than what Canada
Mm,
would be. So
yeah.
it's
Yeah, and even Canada, in comparison to the United States, I would say even the United States is a bit more conservative compared to Canada in terms of certain things. Canada is conservative in some values as well too. Um, so it's a bit like North America is a bit different. Like, and I think they're in this weird like confused time. Like there's no clarity in North America, and even in the UK, I've seen like there's this, I think there's this confusion as well in the UK as well too. Um, like as we've seen Muhammad Hijab, like he identifies everything not Islamic liberalism. It's just strange from Muhammad Hijab.
yeah.
Okay, yes,
So yeah,
anti-Islamic.
Moose, if you can just before we move further, this
Mhm.
paragraph is what I mainly want to highlight with this article. But like I'm kind of dyslexic, so if you want to give this a
Yeah,
read
I'll
out
give
loud.
this a read. First, I underline the argument made by intersectionality scholars stressing the importance of social, economic, and political context in which identity perceptions emerge by providing a review of relevant theoretical and empirical studies on the opposition between sexuality and ethnicity or racialized religiosity. Oh boy, that's a lot of verbiage, uh, as expected. Secondly, I really hope this person was not writing this article at 3 a.m. like I was. Um, Secondly, the article combines CDA intersectionality theory to unravel entanglement of sexual politics with anti Muslim discourse by identifying how sexual liberation is used to frame the Netherlands as the avatar of both freedom and modernity while presenting those as inherently homophobic and racialized LGBT identities as inherently Dutch. In doing so, I contend the intersectionality contributes to illuminate the artificiality of gay or Muslim binary. Like they have a point that it's actually more complicated. That's what intersectionality is. It's a bit more complicated than
Yeah.
black and white. But at the same time, it's like I feel like they're also trying to make excuses for a minority
Yeah.
when in reality, like you kind of have to address this problem. Like you can't just uh,
Yeah, I'd say like this paragraph is essentially the thesis of this article. That's why I
mhm.
was trying to like get
Yeah, and
the
only
entire thing read.
so it's like the gay or Muslim binary, yeah, which seemingly opposition identities, such in the case gayness or religion or race in the identification of gay Moroccan Turkish Muslims. Finally, I discussed the extent in which intersection can serve as an analytical tool to understand the hierarchy underlying process of oppression and privilege can only be that can be enacted among minority groups. Now, my problem with this is that it's kind of like presenting, it at least from my reading of it, I feel like it's ignoring some issues. It's ignoring some glaring problems, and it's sure there are minorities, but also there's also minorities that play victim too, right? So it's it gets very complicated. Okay, so the Dutch case, anti-Islamic discourse and other Muslims, othering of Muslims, yeah. And
Yeah, and like they have a goal to pull out the debates of Muslim woman with the whale, right? So
they
if you
could,
look, so if you look at it here, if I do this highlight, uh,
yeah, recent examples of the aversion include debates about the veil and the position. This is not relevant. I'm sorry, this is not relevant though, because we're discussing like Islam, Muslims, and LGBTQ. I get it,
yeah,
like the
because like
hijab, like
because like what I have a problem with this is like they're saying, oh, because it's the far right movement, essentially
it's
they're
not.
pushing it onto the far
It's
right.
not the far right movement at all. It's actually a lot of liberal, even people from the east as well. People also a lot of liberal. I've met some liberals in Canada who actually are anti-hijab. That is, who are against the hijab, and they actually say they actually admitted, yeah, we kind of agree with the conservatives on this one because these are and these are usually these are not these are liberals from like are either atheists, former Christians, former Muslims, former what do you call it like former theists, that is, so former theists, and they are aware of that culture. They've kind of experienced, they know that the hijab is more of a become more of a political statement, and it's a symbol of oppression, and it has misogynistic people aware of the misogynistic history of it know that this is some, even a lot of Pakistani Muslim liberals I've noticed have been anti-hijab matters. So it's not just the far right. Like, so this is a very like misrepresented position. I like it's sorry, yeah, what you were saying here, yellow that, yes. To understand the new identity of sexual nationalism or homo nationalism, okay, please. I highlight the distinction made on Western and Islamic culturalization of society. It's not Islamic. I hate when they kind of try to mix them together. This paper builds the emancipation of gay identities, moving in from the margins, from the center of cultural and social education employed in the more specifically such process involve the cases homophobia where Muslims have become subject of Oriental. No, I hate this term, Orientalist narratives. Oh, I hate this term because it's like saying that, oh, we are looking at it from a Western lens only, or like it's this perfect way to justify like false beliefs or like superstition. That is, it's like it's there are Western superstitions too that we've all called out, and it's not it's just I hate whenever we try to critique Islam, there's this, oh, you're Orientalism is just shoved in. Oh, it's not. It's just like I hate the use of this term. when it comes to like studying cultures and religion, because it it's sort of like saying, trying to say, and at least it's just an opinion of mine, but this is what I'm getting out of it, like as a non-academic, is that, hey, stop critiquing my culture, or stop critiquing my religion, because you're just a Western guy. Like, it doesn't work that way. We can still critique your culture and religion from a scientific point of view, from a social science point of view. We can't just, like, let you be. It's such a deceptive use of that term. Like, I literally, I've grown to like hate the term now. All right, so
Yeah, like so the one that I highlighted here is essentially, I
mhm,
think it's a sub thesis of this
the
section. Is
subthesis,
I
right? So
Yeah,
homonationalism.
and it's the main topic. So yeah, if we can get through this one section, we'll
Okay,
go
so
into
this
your
is
PowerPoint.
just be report. Okay, homosexualism is an analytical category deployed to understand the historicize how and why nation status as gay friendly has been prioritized in the categorization of these citizens as modern and liberal. Post connects homonationalism to a profound critique of lesbian, gay, liberal rights. So it's basically saying it's bad to, like, be openly gay, lesbian, bisexual friendly. Why use that as a weapon? Like, it is used as a weapon at times, but it's like, how's that a bad thing? Like, how's that not a good priority? That's a good priority. Um, the
Like
narrative of,
I'll bring up because like I was downtown and like I took my nephew out and
yeah,
such.
yeah, yeah.
Downtown, and do you know Church Street, Church and
Yes,
Wellesley,
Church
right?
Street is I call it the village of my people. Whenever I take you guys there, so you know,
Yeah, and it's quite ironic that what they do for Pride Month happens on Church Street, but
hmm
that's a separate story. But I went there, and like the only thing we can probably charge them for is public indecency.
yeah,
So that's where I'll draw the line, where they'll go. So they have like the butt naked bike rides, where or like they'll walk around in the parade like naked and whatever. And I agree to a point. Like if someone says, "Oh, that's public indecency," I'll agree with that. But that's as far as an extent as we should go, because like what if you have a freedom to practice your religion, why do they not have a freedom to practice their lifestyle? And
absolutely.
then
And what's funny is that those usually events are, now, like, they're actually held behind closed doors. So they don't even go out in the open.
and
Uh,
yeah, and because like the only we should give everyone the same fundamental right. You don't ask me to pray. You don't do anything that's going to harm me with your religion, but you can practice whichever one you want. Why not give the same right to people's lifestyles? Hey, it's a choice. Being Muslim is also a choice. You made that choice. These people made their choice. Like, live each other's choices,
yeah,
please.
and
Yet somehow saying that like it's pushing some liberal rights discourse or something like that you put it here. It's kind of
yeah, it's like, it's not a liberal rights. It's just like, it's we're just pointing the obvious. The presence of Muslim migrants in the second paragraph. This is what I found interesting. And the multicultural enrichment of Dutch cities have been linked to a perceived increase of violence against gays caused by Muslims. And yeah, I'm not surprised. More specifically, homophobia and intolerance are accounted to young ethnic minority men who, based on their Muslim background and its heteronormative stances, are seen as threatening to LGBT equality. Such perceptions have persuasively enhanced the problematization of Islam and multiculturalism in the Dutch society. Yeah,
yes.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm not very surprised by that, because especially from it's there's a lot more racial, anti-homophobic, transphobic problems from Eastern cultures, specifically like Muslim cultures. Well, even like I've even seen a growing number in Hindu cultures as well. Like, from Eastern minorities, you kind of see this problem of misogyny as well. Like, it's actually more obvious, but I think in the West we're kind of like, and West, I mean, like, globally north countries or like developed nations were kind of scared to address this issue out of fear that, oh, we're going to persecute one minority over another. But given that you and I are both from minority groups, so to speak, so I think it's safe to say that we're not the white man. We're not the white man making the statement. So it's
Yeah.
man, I'm going all over the place. But yeah, it's one of those things that they're kind of stuck. Whereas we can identify that, hey, this is wrong. Liberal, there's there's no liberal supremacism, as Daniel Hakikaju would say. There's no liberal supremacism. It's just being a decent human being. We're trying to push for being a decent human being, and if you're not being a decent human being, sorry, f you. Like, so, and we can actually point out there. Let me just minimize. I think I had something to share. Yeah, I have the presentation in regards to Islam. Yeah, and yes, culture, Ginny. Yeah, big difference too, because there's a lot of straight exhibitionists too. There's a big lot of straight exhibitionists as well. So there's
Yeah.
all those events too, as well as like the beaches and whatnot. So
Yeah. Hanlon's Point.
exactly.
I
So
was kayaking and I accidentally landed on their
yeah. So
shores. And
it's not like you're it's and the culture, Ginny is right, it's not restricted to just the LGBTQ as it's stereotyped. It's practically a lot of cultures around. So it's like, yes, oh my goodness, drastic measures. Did Moose get his honorary white supremacy? No. I still haven't received my Israel salary yet, Israeli salary. I'm broke as shit right now. So I haven't received my Israel salary, but I blame COVID for it, the 3-year COVID delay.
yeah. Anyways, yeah, I think you got a PowerPoint to
Yes,
present. So
yes.
I'll,
So I
I'll mute
wanted
myself
to.
as you do the PowerPoint, and then once you,
Oh no,
if
no!
we have
Don't
time, we'll
mute
do the
yourself.
video.
Don't mute yourself. I would say you can ask questions in the middle too,
Sure.
because what do you call it? It's not. I don't think it's very long, but it addresses the issues. Because I'll ask you questions as well too. Um, I think we've discussed this before as well, but I kind of like expanded upon it because there was old research that I did that on Islam and homosexuality, but I kind of expanded on it a bit more. Okay, it's loading. Can you see this? Nick, can you see this? Darn it, Nick. All right. Okay. I think I can see this. So, all right. I think he. Okay. Okay. So this is where I discussed homosexuality versus Islam. So I'll just do a little callback. I did an old Facebook status, and I know it's kind of informal. Um, I think there was some Christians who were kind of sharing like, oh, homosexuality is not a sin. Like there was something about it. And I kind of sort of like said, okay, this is problematic because you're kind of ignoring your own laws too. So I said, simply put, as this the like there was something in Leviticus, and then they tried to change the meaning, and then it's like I pointed out that in Corinthians 6:9, it's men who have sex with men is a sin. And then New Testament, if this was in the New Testament, Leviticus states that if a man has sexual relations with a man, as one does with a woman, both of them have done what is detestable. So they're to be put to death, and their blood will be on their own heads. So there's that. I also even quoted some Jewish oral law that 2 men caught in this shall receive a death sentence, and lesbian acts with flogging. Then I also point out Sunnah Abu Dawood in Islam 4462, which states that those who commit the acts of people of Sodom and Gomorrah, they have a death penalty, or the people of Lot, that is. So I kind of ended it with saying, if you're an LGBTQ or ally or person from there, and think hard before you make any religious reference to defend the community, especially from Abrahamic religions. They just simply don't support them, period. It's practically straightforward. They can allow for sex slaves, pedophiles to flourish, but 2 consenting adults of the same sex, all punishable by sin. So yeah, Nick, are you there? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Drastic measures. Thank you. You didn't see it. Okay, so now I'm going to touch on the Quran. So chapter 7, verses 80 to 84. Um, I I picked out. So and Lut, when he said to his people, "Do you commit such immorality? Not has preceded you there in any of the worlds." Indeed, you approach the men. Yeah, it's weird. Like you. It was repeated here. The men lustfully from, and I took this from the corpus, mind you. The men lustfully from instead of the women. Nay, you a people who commit excesses. And not was the answer of his people, except that they said, "Drive them out of your town. Indeed, they are people who keep themselves pure." So he saved them and his family, except his wife. She was one of those who stayed behind. And we showered them upon a rain. So how was the end of the criminals? So it places the people of Lot in the category of criminals. Now, the funny story is that it's funny because with Lot, he offers his two daughters when the angel in Genesis and even in chapter 11 and 15 in the Quran, like the angels when they come to Lot's place, and the people, a bunch of gay men just want to get to know them, or like get to like a bunch of gay rapists. That is, let's put it that way. They ask for the angels, and then a Lot offers his daughters, his two daughters, in exchange. And a lot of Islamic apologists, a lot of Christian apologists have tried to say, "Oh, it was in marriage," but it's a mob. It's a giant mob out there. So you're offering your daughters to get gang raped. So this is the kind of person the Islam, Christianity, Judaism. This is the kind of person is seen as a good person. Like, really? What? Like the guy who offers his daughters to get gang raped? And it's messed up too. And in Genesis too, he also further says that they're virgins, but they're also married too. So it's messed up. Like the story is very messed up. The Quran has another verse. It says, "Why do you approach men halal with lust instead of women? Nay, you are a people who are ignorant." It's like I looked at this verse. I'm like, does this author really know what the word ignorant really means? Because it's quite funny because I saw Mehdi Hassan also use the word ignorant a lot. I'm like, is this kind of like, did he read the Quran too? Like, is he trying to like use the word ignorant all the time? It's funny. It's very funny. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, so Lut was never going to win Father of the Year for Lut was never going to be Father of the Year. So yeah, I also found the punishment in the Torah as well. This was where because the Quran itself, I think the Master Arab also touched on this. The Quran itself doesn't have a specific punishment. It just rains down fire on them or rains them down on stones. That is, there's no specific punishment for the homosexuals in the Quran specifically, but there is punishment. So this might have been adapted by the what do you call it, the Islamic cultures, because it says here, if a man lies with a male, one as one lies with a woman, the two of them have done a abhorrent thing, they shall be put to death. They retain the blood guilt, or the blood is on their heads. Now, I've seen some apologetics for this too, like how the Igbo distinguishes male and man, yet they're both put to death. So it's like you're just killing both of them. Because even when they argue the bestiality, it's like both the perpetrator and the animal are killed. Because read the following two verses, and it's like, if man has sexual relations with an animal, he has to be put to death, and you must kill the animal. Why? Poor animal. Like, especially even the woman, if a woman approaches an animal to have sexual relations, kill both the woman and the animal. Like, why are you killing the animal? They are put to death. Their blood will be on their own heads. It's like, this Abrahamic God, like whether it's Allah, Yahweh, Elohim, he's screwed in the head. Like he just has one solution: kill. That's it. Oh, and I also point out the what do you call it? honestly, culture Ginny, I see this argument, but it's like you're offering your daughters to be gang raped by a mob. There's no escaping that. That's messed up. That's very messed up. So that's that in its that's not a good defense. Sorry. Um, all right. So Corinthians 6:9, because like I hear a lot of also Christians. I'm also kind of overlapping like biblical teachings and Quranic teachings because there's a lot of overlap with this. So I'm gonna also touch on this because it's like what do you call it? I don't want to come across as like this, oh, Islamophobe, it like whataboutery. So this is also to address the whataboutery because a lot of people will use whataboutery. Oh, what about Christianity? What about Judaism? So here I'm touching on this as well. And there's two different translations. I use the new translation as well as the King James version as well for Corinthians 6:9. So it says here, or do you know that the wrongdoers will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived, neither the sexually immoral, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor men who have sex with men. So that's the new version. In the King James version, they say, know ye not, and the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom. Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, adulterers, nor the effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind. Like, yeah, this a weird change in the what do you call it? Translation, but yeah, the effeminate as well as like those who have sex with men. So it's kind of I also read the following passages. It places them 6:10, 6:11, 6:12, like they kind of place them in the same category as criminals, like homosexuality is, or being effeminate is placed in the same category as a criminal. So the New Testament does indeed see this as a sin. So a lot of Christians who can make the willing to make the Old Testament argument, here's the New Testament. Now, aside from that, let's go to the Hadith as well. So I have a few Hadiths here. So the Hadith, this one I found in Sahih al-Bukhari, it's 772, 774. So this is volume 7, book 72, Hadith number 774. So this one says the Prophet cursed effeminate men. So effeminate men, those men who are in the similitude, assume the manners of women. So this is talk about, this could be even trans men. So this could be even applied to that. And those women who assume the manners of men. Yes, this is against the trans persons. And he said, turn them out of your houses. The Prophet turned out such and such. Umar turned out such and such. So this goes to show that they exile them, and I think Maududi, yeah. So this kind of also there's a commonality with. I think there was an article I was reading about how LGBTQ plus Muslim children were kicked out of their houses. So their parents are following this example. There's a Hassan Sahih Hadith in Sunnah Abu Dawud, chapter 4462. I say this, if you find anyone doing as lots of people did, kill the one who does it and the one to whom it is done. And this is Hassan Sahih. So this one is second most reliable. Like I think there's Sahih is the most reliable. This is Hassan Sahih. So it's fairly reliable as a critique.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So, shit, I forgot the question. Mainly, I was gonna ask, why would he curse the effeminate? Wouldn't he be cursing the effeminate men because they wouldn't exactly be warrior types for him to do like conquering and such back in the day? That's probably the context of this hadith here.
But he's also saying those women who assume the manners of men too. So yeah, so it's like, wouldn't those women be more useful to you? Like, even from a warlord perspective. So it's like, he's he's just a product of his time practically, and similar to the previous
But but isn't it meant for all periods and times?
Yeah, I know. It's for all times, man. It's for all times. He's a prophet of God. He's a prophet of a God. He's for all times. But there's another hadith about effeminate men. Good question that you bring up. 434 of Sahih al-Bukhari states, this is a funny one. This is a very funny one. The Prophet ﷺ came to me while there was an effeminate man sitting with me, and I heard him, that is the effeminate man, saying, Abdullah bin Abi Umayyah, to Abdullah ibn Abi Umayyah, he's just chatting. Oh Abdullah, see if Allah should make you conquer Taif tomorrow, then take the daughter of Ghailan in marriage, as she is beautiful and fat, that she shows 4 folds of flesh when facing you and 8 when she turns her back. I don't know what to say to that. The Prophet ﷺ then said, these effeminate men should never enter upon you, O women. Ibn Juraj said the effeminate man was called Hit. So weird. This is such a weird hadith. Nick, what do you think of this? That's so weird.
Yeah, you can tell me not to be an effeminate man, but can you not tell me what woman I should enter and not enter?
Yeah, it's weird because also culture, Ginny. There's a God claim here, so we can't apply the it was different in the past or how it was viewed in the past. There are God claims here. There's a big God claim. When there's a God claim, it doesn't apply. Sorry. And so it's, if anything, also, hi, Nim Grace. Hello. Yeah, offering your daughters to brutal sexual doesn't exactly give the message that their lives are valued. Yeah, and what's funny is that the gay rapists actually turned them down too. It's like, what are you doing? So here's another weird hadith that I found. 5887, and I think it's the same theme. Salama narrated that once the Prophet was in her house and an effeminate man was there too. The effeminate man, he said the same thing. I recommend you marry the daughter, for she is so fat that she has 4 curves to the front of her belly and 8 at the back. What's up with these curves? So the Prophet said to his wives, these effeminate men should not enter upon you, aka your houses. So he's like, so just because you recommended someone marrying someone's daughter, it's like, they should not enter your house, my wife's house. What? This is so weird. Such a weird hadith. It's bizarre. But now I'm going to go to the examples of what Muhammad's companions did, that is. So this is based on Al-Qafi as well as there's another Al-Tahzib, both of them. So I think more Al-Tahzib, because I shared this before, where Ali bin Abu Talib, one of Muhammad's successors, the 4th caliph, he prescribes 3 different punishments for sodomy, and homosexuality. So the first is the blow, a deadly strike to the neck with a sword. It will take whatever it takes. The second is thrown off a mountain with hands and feet tied. The third is burnt within the fire. Either one of these 3 punishments, according to Ali bin Abu Talib, you can apply. So then what other companions, like Ibn Abbas, this was another Sahih source in Chain. There's an Arabic source that I found. He was one of the uncles of Muhammad, and he said, the punishment for a homosexual should be to look for the highest point in the city. Then he is to be tied up and thrown from the top before he is stoned on the ground. So not only are you throwing the person from the top tied up like ISIS has done, but you're also stoning them on top of it, which just to make sure they're dead. So it's very messed up. And Abu Bakr had a wall dropped on them. This is like what I found very similar to what the Taliban did in Afghanistan as a punishment for homosexual men. So this is messed up, like the wall getting dropped. So they're just following the examples of the Prophet and his companions or their heroes. So and now like I didn't cover I think in another episode I'll cover what ISIS, Taliban, and Al Qaeda have done and kind of like go into more detail. Um, and also what like Muslim countries have done. Another episode, but yeah. So we've got like um, the schools of thought. That is. So I actually found some more stuff because I initially thought like there was like just straightforward stuff, but when I looked deeper into into the different schools, and um, and this is from what Maududi records of Imam Shafi himself, that initially Imam Shafi said that both criminals involved in sodomy should be killed, whether married or unmarried. So this was the initial thought within the Shafi school of thought. Remember, there's four major schools of thought: Shafi, Maliki, Hanbali, Hanafi in Sunni, and one of the major ones in Shia. There's another one, Ismailism in Shia as well, which I'll briefly cover as well. I was not able to find some stuff on Ismailism, but I'll discuss. Anyway, so Shafi initially had the death sentence, but then another Shafi book, the Sunni Sufi Law Code, says that the commission of sodomy and bestiality is an act which is equivalent to zina. Zina meaning it's the three: adultery, fornication, or rape. Now, the footnote says that the legal punishment should be applied, but the accepted view is for the judge's discretion. Now, a punishment can range from stoning to flogging. So, and I think we've seen that in I think there was the province in Indonesia where there was the flogging. So this could be on the what do you call it, discretion of the judge. There's another Shafi law book which I found, Reliance of the Traveler, and it states that the punishment of stoning must be imposed if they had reached puberty and committed the act voluntarily. This applies to Muslims, non Muslims, and even to those who left Islam. So it doesn't matter if you're a Muslim, non Muslim, or an apostate. If you've committed this act, the death sentence, the punishment of stoning can apply to you. And they also state puberty, which means I actually looked into it. It's like either you've grown pubic hair, just started growing pubic hair, or you've just started bleeding as a girl. So it's like you can be really young as 12, and you can be stoned to death. So this is how bizarre it is. This is the Shafi school of thought. I looked into the Hanafi school of thought, which is the majority in nations like Pakistan and the Central Asia. So Abu Hanifa had a different opinion. He says that he was the opinion that the culprit should be punished in accordance with the circumstance of the crime, with an exemplary punishment. An exemplary punishment means that it must be done in public, so people will learn and fear. But it is clear that the judge may exercise discretion, because there's no straight up death sentence, but it depends on the judge. It depends on the Hanafi school, so it can be anything. So, even Hanifa, he stated that he had the opinion that the punishment should be less severe than that of an adulterer. So only the Hanafi school has no straight up death sentence, but it can still be brutal. Like there's the potential. Now, the Maliki school of thought, it's pretty straightforward. Malik's asked Ibn about someone who committed. Ibn Shihab said he used to be stoned whether he is a muhsan, legally married, regardless of his marital status. Then someone who commits sodomy must be stoned. No mercy or extenuating circumstances. So this is from Al-Muwatta Imam Malik. This is basically just stone them to death. Simple as that in the Maliki school of thought. I also found the Hanbali school of thought. It requires the punishment with stoning as well. It condemns, if not stoning, then a death sentence, basically. So the Hanbali school of thought is also very, very straightforward on that. Then I looked into, other schools like the Shia Jafri as well as the Shia Ismaili. Now, for the Ismaili, like I said, I did find a source earlier, but then I think they removed it online. There was they've been removing sources from online. So I kind of figured that they've been removing all this stuff because I think either the Aga Khan or like the Ismaili community would not want something like that just hanging around online. So in Shia Jafri Islam, this is also a death sentence. And Imam Khomeini, the current leader of Iran, in 2016, he said that homosexuality is the worst form of moral degradation. And this man even used the example of incest, basically. This man also used the example of incest. It's like they're copying Khomeini practically. So Khomeini was the one who, what do you call it? Used the same apologetics. So yeah, in the Shia Ismaili, there were lashings, but then there was other stuff too, but I couldn't find it because, they've been deleting stuff. I did find like some stuff on the Sunni Zahiri, which I feel like we might look into, but like I just wanted to finish this before we look into this. So this is an article as well that I found. So, okay, how many do I left? Yeah, okay. So I'll just cover these three, and then we can go to the study itself. So this was a modern Kuwaiti scholar in 2005. I saw this Tariq Swedan. He said in it, and this is a recorded transcript of the TV show in Memory TV. He said that anyone caught committing sodomy killed both the sodomizer and the sodomized. The clerics determined how the homosexual should be killed. They said he should be stoned to death. Some clerics said that he should be thrown off a mountain. This is an abomination act in human life, so the punishment is severe. So he also further adds that moral values, with them societies rise, and without them, whoops. Moral values sink to a level, man becomes lower than a beast. Therefore, the punishment was extremely severe, and the punishment in Islam was clear and courageous. Courageous, my foot. There should be no lenience in this case. Yes, this is very brutal. And governments and countries must enforce laws strictly against anyone committing this abomination. No one should say it is a matter of genes or a personal issue. That doesn't concern. Yes, he's like completely shutting off any science to him. This could cause deviation in society as a whole as it spreads, and it did among the people of Lot. So he's also cutting off any research that is. So even Yusuf al-Qaradawi, I found that he admitted that there was disagreements between scholars on how homosexuality should be punished. But he said it was more important to treat it like a crime. I also found Ayatollah Sistani. He's a Shia scholar as well from Sistani.org. He said that it is not permissible for a man to look at another man with lust. Similarly, it is not permissible for a woman to look at another woman with lust. Homosexuality, which is also called shudud al-jinsi, is haram. Similarly, it is forbidden for a female to engage in sexual act with another female, aka lesbian. And this is the same man. In the very next sentence, I found this was very funny. Masturbation by any mode, whatever means, is forbidden. This is also what I found funny. It's like, oh damn, like he's just closing all the doors. So we have a lot of sinners on this planet. Masturbation. So now, finally, I'm going to touch on like two different countries, Iran and Saudi Arabia. I'll cover other countries in the future because I didn't have much time because there are different penal codes that I wanted to go over. In countries with Islamic law, in 1991's Constitution of Iran, there's an extreme punishment. I think Article 108 to 113 says, sodomy is a crime for which both partners are punished. The punishment of death if the partners are adults, of sound mind, and consenting. The method of execution for the Sharia judge to decide. Damn. So it was reported that in Saudi Arabia, and not a lot gets out of Saudi Arabia, it sentenced more than 100 men to prison for flogging for gay conduct. Because this was a report on April 7th, because on March 26th of that same year, a Jeddah court meeting and a closed session in which defense attorneys were excluded. Yeah, defense attorneys were excluded. Wow. Sentenced 31 of the men to prison for 6 months to 1 year and 200 lashes each. For unreported offenses, 4 other men received 2 years in prison and 2,000 lashes. The police released more than 70 of the men not long after their initial arrest. Reports to the Saudi press suggested that the personal contacts with the government had interviewed on their behalf. However, on April 3rd, the police summoned the 70 men back to a local police station, informed them that they had been sentenced to 1 year of imprisonment. Yeah, this is what happens in Saudi Arabia. So there was this. Let's look into the second. Oh, Nick, where did he go? All right. Right? It would have been avoided. It would have been so easy to say that. It would have been extremely easy to say that. Like it's bizarre. Like they have to come jump through hoops and come up with what do you call it, justifications for this. So now I'm looking into the Zahiri. This is a school of thought that's barely looked into, the Zahiri school of thought. And this is Imam Ibn Hazm on homosexuality. So this is a famous 5th, 11th century. So Zahiri is a Sunni school of thought. It's in a minority, but it's something that we can look into. And I'm guessing, I think I lost Nick because I can't see him. So I'm guessing, yeah, it's yeah. Yeah, okay, so let me just open this. Okay, perfect. Article. So this article kind of shows, like, it touches on the Maliki school of thought, because Ibn Hazm, he's the scholar. He briefly adhered to Shafi'ism before finally opting for a Zahiri, or a literalist school of law. So he used to be Maliki, then he opted for Shafi'ism, and then he kind of, went there to Zahirism. And the real sources. Modern scholarship is mostly focused on the Ibn Hazm's legal methodology. Yes, there's more legal methodology because there is no punishment in the Quran specifically. Like the Quran is not very specific. So let's get the concrete decision. I'll skim over this because it's not. One don't want to take too much time in what follows. Examine Ibn Hazm's views on homosexuality, both male and female, as a case. It differed from the generally accepted view. So it differed from the generally accepted views of Malikis. Or perceived threat to the religious establishment in Al-Andalus. However, before addressing, I shall give a brief survey in the non-Zahiri works, the Quran on homosexuality. No, this is not what I'm looking into. Yeah, 415 has this. I actually came across this. 415 has been interpreted as some reference to homosexuality, but there's nothing explicit about it. So homosexuality in the hadith, so he states that homosexuality in legal writings. So this is a very interesting one here. But the Hanafis, on the other hand, are in the opinion that mere tazir should be applied. Discretionary penalty whose aim is to punish and reform rather than deter the public. As we shall see, the latter is the view of the Zahiris. So the Zahiris have a similar view on homosexuality, that is. So the Zahiri school of thought
So Ibn Hazm, let's finally get to he wrote this book, Taq al-Hamama, famous for the love and life. Got the impression that it was so, and have got the impression that Ibn Hazm was quite tolerant of women. Not only does he at times give glowing descriptions of handsome men he knew, the work almost contains very sympathetic accounts of men smitten with members of their own. That Ibn Hazm himself was not quite immune to the charms of other men. So Louis Crompton wrote this article, Male Love in Islamic Law and Islamic Spain, states that Ibn Hazm admits to being tempted by the beauty of men. On one occasion, he dared not attend a party where he would meet a handsome man who attracted him in order to avoid any occasion for sin. Like, he still viewed it as a sin. Arjuna Castro, like, he feels that he's a true congenital homosexual, but not a practicing one. But however sympathetic Ibn Hazm made towards the tormented lover boys, he may admire the physique of certain members. His opinion of physical contact between is entirely unequivocally negative, as is shown in the last chapter of Isaac, which is Al Bahul Kubal Masiya, of vileness of sinning, as for the conduct of the people of law, that is horrible and disgusting. Apparently, then, to do love and be loved, but to act, it is another man. Like, loving is different, acting is another matter altogether. So bromance is, he kind of I think he's just trying to, separate bromance from homosexuality. However, Ibn Hazm applied the same strict to heterosexual lovers, that he advocates chastity, the only lawful all form of for man is within wedlock. So if the dog which deals with virtually aspects of it does not explicitly mention love between women, or let alone sex, unless phrase, I once saw a woman who had bestowed her affection in a way not pleasing God, for this woman so affection to another woman. Ibn Hazm greatly praises. So he seems a very, very complex guy. He's from the Zahiri school. Praises the pure quality of woman until it's turned sour when she became bitter and resentful. It should be noted that this passage too occurs in the chapter of vileness of sinning. So after his turn from Malikiism via Shafism to Zahir, this is not completely. We should therefore, in his kitab, most comprehensive. Man, they're dancing around the issue, like straight up say it. So, as their name indicates, Zahirism advocate legal interpretations revealed in the sources, the Quran and Sunnah, in the plain Arabic speech, reliance on the opinions of earlier masters, Kitab al-Muhalla, by including it in the section. So in this view, the homosexual acts are not something that incurs the maximum, that is death penalty 100, since acts cannot be assimilated to zina, as it holds most fuqaha. Although we shall start the discussion. So he says, so he opens the discussion by stating that it is one of the major sins, the gunai kabir, like the consumption of pork, blood, or maita, or wine, or like zina. He declares it, or any other things like illicit, as a kafir or mushrik whose lives gods may be taken. It is immediately clear then that there, as in talk, he condemns homosexuality as an abomination. This discussion, which follows opening statements, may be divided into the 1, 2, 3. So he's going to divide them. So his line of reasoning. So I present in there again. So all in all, he sums up different options. So he sums up both active and passive partner to be burned alive. Yeah, very tolerant, very tolerant. So they're burnt alive. Both active and passive should be taken to the highest part of the town. Yeah, we see the same problem here. Both of them stoned to their, whether muhsan or not, which is like, whether they're married or not, both are to be executed by the sword. So there's 4 punishments. The 5th one, he states that, the passive partner is to be stoned, whether he is a muhsan or not, whereas the active one should be stoned if he's a muhsan and flogged if he's not. That is weird. And with the number of lashes that constitute the had punishment for zina. The active passive part are equal, meaning that they're equally guilty or responsible. Their punishment depends on not on their position, but on their legal. So whether of them are is mohsan will be stoned, whether of them will be given 100 lashes, it, as in the case of the heterosexual fornicator. No had punishment is to be inflicted upon them if they are, should they be given a tazir punishment. This we shall see. So this is the first seven, like, it's pretty straightforward. Then is not committing a sin. Another report deals with the isnad. Ali holds this particular sin to be unforgivable. It demands the perpetrators. He says that no nation ever committed this sin except the Lot. He gives the reference. Abu Bakr communicates the decision to and decides to, and such as, like, and others after him, such as Ibn Zubair, Hisham and the Amir are known to have ordered this punishment. What was the punishment? The burning alive. Okay, so the burning alive punishment. Yes, burning alive of both men involved in the cases. Ibn Hazm quotes. So Ibn Hazm then moves on the second view that homosexuals should be thrown down. So he also explains why they should be thrown down. So Ibn Abbas, he quotes Ibn Abbas here. Then in the third, hold that the active and past should be both be stoned, whether they're mohsin or not. Adduces so Ali is like stoned a homosexual. Another report that Ibn Abbas ruling that a virgin, al-bikr, in the case of a young man who had previously not, who was caught in homosexual acts, must be stoned. So virgin man must be stoned. Ibrahim is quoted as, if anyone deserves to be stoned twice, it is the luti, while Rabia stated that if a man takes the luti, he will be stoned, and neither it is being, muhsan or any other consideration. So then he states of Al-Zuri that they should be stoned. This view is shared by Ali, Said al-Musay, Zinad, and Al-Hasan. So Ibn Hazm mentions Al-Shafi, Malik, Al-Layth, and the fourth view is that both partners should be executed by the sword. This is also based on the Ibn Abbas, though there's no isnad is provided, and that both partners should be skilled. So yeah, he skips the fifth and sixth one. So there's a lot of brutal punishments for homosexuality. So I think the point is made here. So I'll provide like you guys with the link to this article. So it's pretty damn clear here that homosexuality is punishable as a punishable act. 1 second, where am I? Okay. So yeah. I gotta say, one of those Spanish, I would pick a nice clean beheading. And then it's like, yeah, very diverse and inclusive. Yeah, it's actually taking into account all of them practically. Yeah, it's taking into account all of them. So I think there was a video that I wanted to react. Nick, I don't know where did Nick go? Lost. Oh yeah, he lost the internet. Okay. So yeah, it was a branch that fell on his power line. So I think it's a storm that took his internet down. But no worries. Well, I'll react to the video that I'll share. 1 second. So there's a Yasser Qadi video that I wanted to react to. So Yasser Qadi, the man, legend, the one who said there were holes in the narrative. So this is from 2017. And let me just full screen this. All right, I hope you guys are able to hear this. Let me know if you can't hear this.
So what I saw was that this tragedy was being used by certain segments of even our community and outside our community to ask for a radical revisionism of something that is really beyond dispute. And that is that sexuality and intimacy is something that is only between a husband and wife in marriage. Now, that issue should never be conflated with the vicious murder of groups of people of any persuasion or lifestyle. No scholar in the history of Islam has ever justified such brutal acts of vigilante justice.
Vigilante justice existed in the what do you call it, in the hadith as well as in the Sirah with Sa'd and Ibn Hisham. There is vigilante justice carried out by, I think it was Asma bint Marwan was murdered by a vigilante. So vigilante justice was indeed carried out, and Muhammad forgave this gentleman just because she was reciting poetry against him. So vigilante justice does indeed exist and can be justified. So it's like this is kind of wrong to say like, oh, no scholar has justified it. No, it's there. It's in the Sirah.
No scholar has ever justified killing people in this manner, or even any innocent people in this manner. And there is no question that any crime that we consider to be a moral crime has no repercussions in this world, in this land. I have to be very...
Okay, there are justifications for killing. There are justifications for killing. You cannot escape that. You're just trying to like sugarcoat this. Yeah, it's pretty brilliant. And all those points are the result of foreign policy. Yes, it's definitely foreign intervention. Blame the West. Let's blame the West. All right, let's continue with this.
Very explicit here. Moral crimes in this land are between the people and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't go around enforcing our version of Sharia when it comes to drinking alcohol. We don't enforce our version of Sharia when it comes to any other matter. So let nobody think that we're going to enforce our version of Sharia when it comes to same sex. I mean, we have to come to terms with the fact that we are living in a land that has its constitution and its laws. But those constitutions and laws allow me the freedom to preach morality, even if I don't force that morality on other people. I have the right to preach about human decency, about haya and modesty.
Well, he has a point there. At least there's the freedom. He has the freedom to, say whatever bullshit he wants to say, or whatever, homophobic things he wants to say. But even I'm not saying but even then, like, when he's preaching haya, it's like, where's the haya in, like, what do you call it, basically discriminating again? You're still discriminating against the LGBTQ plus. So it's bizarre. It's interesting. I kind of agree that, okay, you have the freedom. You have the freedom to preach what you want. And you guys take full advantage of that. There's also the call it crap. I'm having my brain's fried right now. All right, let's continue.
That's my right. Don't take that right away from me. And don't challenge that right because of a vicious, brutal, evil massacre. That is an emotional tactic. That is not an academic or scientific one. SubhanAllah, if somebody goes and murders somebody that's basically doing something unethical, for example, drinking, are we now going to say, oh, rethink your stance on drinking in Islam? You guys are killing somebody? No, it's a one-off incident.
Even if it's a one-off incident, your teachings, your scriptures are teaching this stuff. They are teaching this stuff. They are actually encouraging this mentality. So, and then now you just want to escape the responsibility. It is definitely like you have to be answerable to this. So it's it's kind of like, I feel like this is a way of deflecting responsibility. So it like there are examples of vigilante justice. But yeah, he hasn't said something like, interesting so far.
Deranged person who clearly is a sociopath, clearly has issues of a psychological nature, went and did something. For us to challenge the fundamentals of our faith based upon that is simply not feasible. It's not rational. Unfortunately.
Yeah, so what he's saying is that just because someone happens to be Muslim going by the Islamic law, like we shouldn't look into fault, like completely ignore that. He said something similar about like the Zulkarnain story as well, like whether he was Alexander the Great or not. And he likes to like not he likes to say things like this, like not address the issue. Let's not address the issue because it doesn't have anything to do with us. So it's kind of like a very interesting tactic to deflect. Um, but it needs to be looked into. You have to look into this. So you have to question your religion. You have to like there's no means to like like you just can't like say, oh, it doesn't have anything to do with us. And it does. It absolutely does. And you want to encourage your followers to be able to look into it rather than keep them in ignorance. So I've noticed this tactic is very common with Yasser Qadhi, that he tries to like shut things down and like but in a nicer way, kind of like push them on the side, brush it under the rug.
Fortunately, what I found was that some Muslims and many people outside of our faith, they were somehow linking our religiosity and our conservatism with the acts of this person, and that is definitely not the case. We need to have a nuanced and intelligent discussion where we have the courage and bravery to say, look, we have our understanding of intimacy and sexuality. This is what we believe about what is permissible.
Oh, I love how he says, oh, let's have an intellectual discussion. And intellectual means, oh, please don't insult us. Oh, please don't insult us. Be nice to us. That's what they mean by intellectual. I hate when they use the word intellectual educated. Intellectual educated just means that, oh, don't make fun of us. Don't do this. It's like, it's kind of like, it's a very dog whistle term I found among scholars that, so which yeah, so this is the cash out. My volume is low. My volume is low. 1 second. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, pretty much. Let's just finish the video. I'm just gonna. Okay, perfect. You can hear me. So yeah, it's like I like how this. They say, oh, let's have an intellectual academic discussion, and it's like it's a very dog whistle term. I've seen this as a very dog whistle term to say, oh, please be nice to us. Please be nice to us. Don't be mean to us, or don't be harsh with your criticism. And it's one of those things he likes to. It's a very dog whistle term that I found. So perfect, you guys can hear me. All right, let's continue with the video.
What is impermissible, but we also believe it is impermissible to force my vision and my understanding on other people. That is something we as Muslims as well are going to have to come to terms with. We are living in a land that has its constitution. We're living in a land that has its laws. Our case is similar to that of the Muslims in Mecca, the Muslims in Abyssinia, where all we have to do is preach, but we cannot compromise the truth of what we preach. And that was why I felt it very important to draw this middle line where we stand by our principles and we say that it is an indisputable fact. No scholar in the history of our religion, no sect, no movement, no understanding has ever said it is morally permissible to engage in premarital sex. How could anybody say same-sex is?
Now it's like he has a point where it's the if your religion, like I would say I kind of would agree with the Mecca situation, like based on their narrative, that is, and ironically that Mecca was relatively tolerant of their teachings, that is, of their preachings, so they're in that situation. So like basically you're saying, hey, let's be mellow for now, like and not change ourselves. Like he's not willing to change. At least he's given a better example. It's a better. I like the example that okay, it's similar to the ones in Mecca or Abyssinia. So it's like, yeah, you have to live by the laws. So And I think what did he said something about? One second, I'll just rewind this bit.
No scholar in the history of our religion, no sect, no movement, no understanding has ever said it is morally permissible to engage in premarital sex. How could anybody say same-sex is allowed in Islam? There is not a shred of legitimacy to any difference of opinion in that regard. Unfortunately, the conversation is shifting. Many people are writing books and writing articles and trying to say, oh, Islam allows same-sex marriages. And I say that there is no legitimacy to that argument whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I have to agree with this one because there has been this movement that oh, Islam allows this, or like there's this new movement, and we even had a guest here, like there's people changing things. No, I'm not being harsh. I'm actually legitimately, like, even if he said it's the sin for a next life, it still is in Islamic law. It's still persecution. It in Islamic law, it is still even though he's not calling for persecution, he's using dog whistle terms. Yeah, even then, it's like first I did. Okay, so discussion between you guys. Yeah, so there's the claim that there's the claim that Muslims should be judged. He won't, like, because yeah, in drastic measures, you're correct. He won't directly call for it, but he knows that there are Islamic punishments for this. He's gonna kind of hide it, like he's gonna try to sugarcoat it. So he's going for this new direction. So this is very interesting that he's doing.
Now, does that mean that we discriminate? We legitimacy to that argument whatsoever?
Wait. Yeah.
Trying to say, oh, Islam allows same-sex marriages, and I say that there is no legitimacy to that argument whatsoever.
Yeah, he's correct on that, because I've seen. Yeah, I wanted to address this again before I got distracted. There has been a new movement that oh, Islam does allow homosexuality. It doesn't. There's this weird shift. Whereas Yasir Qadhi is correct here. It doesn't allow homosexuality. So I would have to agree with him on this one. He's at least admitting it. So at least I give him that. He's admitting it. And there's I think we've had what do you call it? This neo, like we have this new reformist movement, or like we've had people. I don't know if it's Leslie Hazelton or some reform Muslims that are like you're trying to like LGBTQ plus, like it's just weird. Like there's new articles I've seen that how Islam support is pro LGBTQ, and it's like no, it's not. It's pretty straightforward. And Yasir Qadhi is correct here. He is correct.
Now, does that mean that we discriminate, we treat? No, I said this on my Facebook post. When the same-sex marriages were made legal by the Supreme Court, I gave a whole khutbah, it's online. And I said very clearly, Muslims, all Muslims, come to terms with the fact we're living in a land that has its own laws. Like all of your friends and colleagues at work drink and they party and they go and do things that are un-Islamic, but you're still nice to them in work. You still get along in a professional level. Why then can't you understand that a person who might have a sexual preference other than yours doesn't mean you can't get along with them at work? You get along with them fine. They're your friends at work and whatnot. That's nothing to do with our theology and our rituals, but we're not going to compromise on truth. And we're going to preach the truth. And that truth is that we believe that it is unhealthy and it is detrimental, and we leave their affair to Allah. Remember, we never judge an individual.
Okay, so now he finally, like, he said that, yeah, we leave it to Allah. Because of the fact that they're, what do you call it? they're living in the law of the land. So, which, to be fair, I'll give him that. There's also, I hope I can find that khutbah that he gives. So we'll look into that khutbah in a future episode. Though I hope we find a brief version of it, because I'm guessing it could be pretty long. Yeah. So far he's. I know it's like the sugar coated level, but because it's a law of the land, he's kind of restricted to this position, and I do kind of admire him for like being able to tackle this. I do kind of admire it. But my inside queer and ex-Muslim person is like, bullshit. So you're. But yeah, he's at least calling for civility. He's calling for at least there's that. But this. I hope we see this in I hope we see this in Muslim countries, but unfortunately we don't.
Individual. Remember, we never judge an individual and assign Allah's punishment or reward to them unless Allah tells us. And so from any person we meet of any persuasion, we say, look, that's between you and Allah.
Also, like, that's between you and Allah. I've heard this a lot as growing up as a Muslim too. This is from my perspective. That's between you and Allah. Yes, it is the correct thing to say. But unfortunately, when it comes to Islamic laws, it applies to everyone. Islamic laws and religious laws in general, it's like they will try to impede in your life. They will try to interfere with your life. So there is a bit of he's going to have a challenge there, but that there are parts of you that you have to kind of force people to do a certain approach a certain lifestyle a certain way. So this was going to be a difficult position for Yasser Qadi and his adherents. Yeah, let's continue.
Allah, what you're doing, but the fact of the matter is, if you want to come closer to Allah and live a better lifestyle, this is what we believe. And that includes, by the way, and this is the point, why emphasize only same-sex? How about premarital? How about extramarital? We're also opposed to that.
Hang on, dude. That is the issue. We are addressing the homophobia issue. We are addressing the same-sex marriage. So we talk about different issues to issues. Now, like, so we have to address this. So I think you're kind of like, I kind of forgive him for that a little bit, because he's going there, but it's like, yeah, I lost my train of thought. Sorry guys, I lose my train of thought.
And I very strongly disagree with categorizing this as homophobia. It's not a phobia. If it were, then what do we call the phobia against premarital intercourse?
Well. It's not homophobia. Sure, boy. Sure, it's not homophobia. Sure. What else do we fucking call it? Ass. But yeah, I'm sorry if I use that language, but we also use the term Islamophobia as well to shut down critics, boy. So it's actually, let's finish this.
It's the same thing, the same genre, where we believe intimacy is a very special act that should only take place between two people of the opposite gender who are committed to one another, at least committed for their lifetimes, which is a marriage. That's what we believe. So if we're even opposed to premarital, how then can we be allowing same or extra or whatnot? So I totally disagree with characterizing Islam's stance as homophobic. No.
Homophobic. I love that he says homophobic. It is homophobic. Sorry to say, dude. It is homophobic.
It is very clear that intimacy has its laws in our religion, and we are not going to change our laws, and we will criticize the massacre even as we criticize those who want to change our religion because of the massacre. That was the point of the Facebook post. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
All right, so this was an interesting one. Let me just escape this. Okay, so I got a lot of suffering. So that was his address. yeah, so basically, yeah, okay. Sorry guys, I got a bit like, if I was just double checking if I have anything else to share. Yeah, I think that was my final thoughts. Nikhil isn't here, so my final thoughts were like, I know he's trying to like sugarcoat it, but he's trying to reach a compromise between trying to be tolerant, but also like being able to you know stay true to his Islamic laws. And yeah, but yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, more Yasser Qadi videos. Yeah, I might do like more Yasser Qadi videos because they're fairly recent. So it's not very long ago, 2017, 2018, 2019. So yeah, I think he's kind of in a difficult position where I've constantly seen him put in a very difficult situation. And but he's made some very weird claims. Like he says, our religion is supra rational. It's not irrational. It's supra rational. It's like what? Yeah, and he's quite. Yes, I agree. He's quite slippery. He chooses his words very carefully, but he's trying to use the back door. I've seen him use the back door a lot. But if I were like interviewing him, or if I was like, no, 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 come back, come back. So I would kind of press on him a bit more. I would kind of put him in that position to press him a bit more. Um, kind of push his buttons a bit and see like, where he cracks, that is. So yeah, I think that that was it. Like Islam does not have any what do you call it, sympathies for homosexuality. It's a straight up death sentence, and he's not going to say that. He's not going to say, I just displayed like the different Islamic laws. Yeah, he uses the back door. How can it be homophobic? Yeah, it's the back door basically. So it is. It unfortunately is. And not only that, your religion practically dictates death sentences, lashings, and different punishments. I haven't even gone. Yeah, and he does indeed. Like it's similar to the Judeo-Christian scholars that I've seen as well. That they've tried to use the back door. So he's adapting similar apologetics and trying to use the back door and using that escape route. So, what do you call it? Oh no, Pio, damn it, Pio. Oops, you did not. Yeah, yeah, damn it, Pio. All right. Of course, you had to make a gay joke here. All right, now I think we should conclude this show. I'll see you guys at Discord shortly for a few minutes. And I think, thank you guys so much for watching this show. Thank you, Nick. He's not here because there's a storm happening, and I think his power went out because a branch fell on his one of the wires. Yeah, that happens here. That happens here. Anyway, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. If not, I may not be here next week. I may or may not be here next week, but I'll keep you guys updated. If not, Nick might be here next week. So it's a pleasure to do this show once again. And I know I wanted to cover more on the. I really wanted to do this topic for Pride Month specifically, so I might do Muslim countries, like different penal codes, to show like the discrepancy. But we'll see. We'll see what we have or we might react to something. We might react to Mr. Yasser Qadi in the future, or Muhammad Hijab, or one of our favorite characters. But indeed. So thank you guys. Have a lovely evening, and take care.